Today's episode of Variant is brought to you by Domain.com.
Today on Variant, I give you the alternate versions of Superman. Welcome to Variant. We love comics more than that feeling of randomly finding money in an old pair of pants. I'm your host, Arris. As I mentioned last week, the entire month of July is Heroes Month here on Variant. And in honor of America's Independence Day, we are kicking things off with the hero who started with truth, justice, and the American way. About a month ago, I did an alternate versions of Batman episode, and ever since I got lots of requests to do other characters like Spider-Man, Flash, and so on. But today I chose to run through the alternate versions of the Man of Steel himself, Superman. Keep in mind though, I won't be able to mention every single version of Superman. I mean, the character has been around since 1938, but I will try to hit the most prominent ones and the most interesting. I'm going to kick things off by talking about the main Superman we all know from New Earth or Earth-0, whatever you want to call it. This is the Superman from DC's main comic continuity, although after DC's Convergence event, everything is technically continuity, but you get the point either way. So this is the Superman you will find in the Superman title and the Action Comics title, as he's the main Superman. Also, I'm going to be saying Superman quite a bit during this episode because, well, this episode is all about different versions of Superman. So Superman, 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 Superman. Moving along, the first alternate version of the Man of Steel we have is Superman Beyond. This is the Superman from the Batman Beyond timeline, which is actually just the main continuity Clark Kent Superman, but several years in the future. Which is why he looks older, having gray hair and whatnot. Superman Beyond also has a different costume, which is a black and white costume that has no cape. You have Lord Superman from the Justice Lords. In a universe parallel to that of the Justice League's universe, President Lex Luthor's unjust execution of the Flash caused the Justice Lords to go rogue. The Justice Lords, led by Lord Superman, began a program protecting humanity from itself. On the Justice Lords version of Earth, everyday order it was kept by robotic replicas of Superman. The inmates of Arkham Asylum were brainwashed, if not lobotomized, as noted by the two tiny holes on their foreheads. You have one of my favorite versions of Superman, Red Sun Superman. This Kal-El possesses all the same powers and the abilities of the original Silver Age Superman and just about the exact same personality. But with one slight alternate difference. His rocket arrived to Earth 16 hours early, so instead of landing in Smallville, Kansas, he landed in Ukraine and grew up to be the Soviet Union's greatest weapon. Basically, this Superman was raised in Soviet Russia to become the one great superpower of the world and the leader of the Communist Party. Moving along, we have one I'm sure all of you already know about due to the video game, and that would be Injustice Superman, or more specifically, High Chancellor Superman. In the Injustice Gods Among Us game, Superman has taken over the Earth after the destruction of Metropolis and the death of Lois Lane. Deciding to rule over the Earth may sound like a villainous move, but Superman's motives are pure. He just wants to wipe out crime, and as a result, he virtually eliminated all crime on Earth. Of course, that's because anyone who threatens the peace is killed, so he kind of has a Ra's al Ghul approach. Then you have the popular graphic novel Superman Earth-1 series. This rendition of Superman is a modern, more youthful update of Superman and his origin told in its own separate continuity, meant as an easy introductory point for new readers. There's been 3 volumes released thus far, which I personally think has been pretty good, at least the first 2 volumes, because I haven't read the 3rd one yet. But if you're looking for a solid self-contained Superman read, these novels are a good option. Moving on yet again, we have Superman Last Son of Earth, which is an Elseworld story released in 2000. The story is a reverse of the usual Superman origin, with Kal-El being sent from Earth to Krypton and discovers a Green Lantern power ring. With the powers of a Green Lantern, Krypton's adopted son journeys to Earth, the planet of his birth. He discovers the remnants of a civilization struggling to survive amid both ecological adversities and a ruthless would-be dictator named Luthor. 3 years later, a sequel was released, Superman Last Stand on Krypton. Another Elseworld story is Superman Speeding Bullets, which I actually mentioned in my alternate versions of Batman episode, and you'll see why once I tell you what the story is about. The story focuses on Superman becoming Batman instead of Bruce Wayne. Baby Kal-El crashes into Earth, where he is discovered by Thomas and Martha Wayne. The couple decided to adopt Kal-El and name him Bruce. One night, however, Thomas and Martha are gunned down by a mugger. Bruce incinerates the mugger with his heat vision and discovers his superpowers, but it's too late to save his parents. Bruce decides to create a secret identity for himself many years later as the Batman, to brutally strike back at the criminals in Gotham. So technically, this is both an alternate version of Batman and Superman, since it's just Kal-El and a Batman costume. Keeping this train rolling, you have Kingdom Come Superman from Earth-22. On this Earth, he was the man of tomorrow until tomorrow passed him by. Of all the heroes, Superman is the one who has changed the least over the years. Unfortunately, the world around him has changed outrageously. Shunned by a public that instead has grown enamored with a more savage, bloodthirsty, chrome-suited Avengers of tomorrow, Superman is completely confused as to what his role in society should be. Picking up the pace a little bit because I have like 10 more versions of Superman to get through, we have Super Soldier, which was brought to us by Amalgam Comics. Amalgam Comics was a publishing imprint shared by DC DC Comics and Marvel Comics, in which the two comic book publishers merged their characters into new ones. Super Soldier is a mixture between Superman and Captain America, which I'm sure you already guessed. You have Bizarro, which I'm sure I don't need to go into much detail about, as I'm sure every Superman fan already knows about him. But to give you a brief summary of the character for the people who don't know anything about Bizarro, he's an imperfect duplicate of Superman. Everything Bizarro does is deliberately backwards or the opposite of normal. There's Ultraman, who's an evil doppelganger of Superman from Earth-3. He's the leader of the Crime Syndicate, which is a team of supervillains paralleling the Justice League. Ultraman and the Crime Syndicate most recently appeared in the Forever Evil storyline. Now this is where things get a little confusing, Earth-2 Superman, because there's been several, but I'm gonna do my best not to confuse you. So here goes nothing. The first Earth-2 Superman originally appeared in Justice League of America issue 73. He's very similar to the new Earth Superman with little differences. For example, he spells Kal-El differently and works at the Daily Star instead of the Daily Planet. He later died during Infinite Crisis, killed by Superboy Prime, who I'll talk about later. Then you have the new 52 Earth-2 Superman, who died in a war against Apocalypse. He was later believed to be brought back as Brutal. However, when he went up against Val-Zod, he was revealed to be a manufactured copy of Superman, similar to Bizarro, created by Apocalyptic technology. Speaking of Val-Zod, he's one of the last Kryptonians of his universe and the second Earth-2 Superman in the New 52. He has been shown to be very timid and diagnosed by Batman to be agoraphobic, which is a fear of places and situations that might cause panic, hopelessness, or embarrassment. But nonetheless, he's an awesome character. And that sums up our Earth-2 Supermans. That was painless, right? Moving along yet again, yes, I know I'm saying that a lot, we have Superboy Prime, who's one of the strongest characters ever. He's most known for his involvement in Infinite Crisis, where he became obsessed with revenge and became a bloodthirsty villain, killing many heroes, including the previous mentioned Earth-2 Superman. He's also responsible for resurrecting Jason Todd, because when he decided to punch reality, you heard me correctly, he punched reality. It created ripple effects, Jason Todd being one of those ripple effects, so he's just a little bit strong. We have Earth-23 Superman. In this version of the Man of Steel, his name is Calvin Ellis, but his Kryptonian name is still Kal-El. He's the President of the United States on Earth-23. On his Earth, he became Superman in addition to becoming the President. He operates from the White House, where Brainiac serves as his personal computer and even covers for him while he does his duties as Superman. We also have another Elseworlds book called Superman: The Dark Side. Here, Kal-El's rocket is diverted from Earth to Apocalypse, and Superman is raised by Darkseid, which is an awesome concept, might I add. Superman becomes an eager participant in the destruction of New Genesis and a willing disciple of Darkseid. There's no way you can tell me this concept doesn't sound interesting. You have Superman Red and Superman Blue. When Superman develops energy-based powers while losing his original powers, he splits into two different guys known as Superman Red and Superman Blue. This story paid homage to the classic Silver Age story in Superman 162, which was an imaginary story in which two versions of the last son of Krypton patrolled the universe. The second to last Superman I'm gonna mention is Flashpoint Superman. In this timeline, Kal-El's rocket was shifted slightly, and instead of landing in the Kent's farm, he landed right in the middle of Metropolis. He was then taken away by government agents, and the landing was covered up. He has been kept in a secret facility and has been deprived of yellow sun radiation and has had minimal human contact, which is why he looks too skinny and sickly. And the last alternate version of Superman I'm gonna mention is from one of the best Superman stories ever put out, All-Star Superman, written by Grant Morrison. This series was launched under DC Comics All-Star imprint, the first being All-Star Batman and Robin, the Boy Wonder. The series are attempts by DC to allow major comic creators a chance to tell stories showcasing these characters without being restricted by the DC Universe continuity. All-Star Superman was a 12-issue series that ran from November 2005 to October 2008. It literally won every major award there is. In this awesome but extremely depressing story, Superman is subjected to a slow death through intense solar radiation, and without much time left, he tries to complete his very own bucket list. Basically, I had to mention this version of Superman purely because the story was so amazing. It actually even has its own DC animated movie. But that, my friends, sums up my list of alternate Supermans. Clearly, I didn't mention every version of Superman that's ever been invented, but I did my best to give you a good overview of some of the best and my favorite. When you buy a domain name from domain.com, you get the power to influence and control what people find when they search for you online. No domain extension will help you tell your story like a .com or .net domain name. Domain.com is affordable, reliable, and easy to use. The guys at domain.com gave Variants an awesome offer. Get 15% off domain.com's already affordable domain names and web hosting when you use the coupon code Variant at checkout. So when you think domain names, think domain.com. First up for Wednesday, July 1st, we have Red Skull Battle World Issue 1. Red Skull should be dead, but his legend grows, so a team of villains that include Winter Soldier, Magneto, and Lady Deathstrike are sent on a dangerous odyssey to the Deadlands to prove it. Here we have Secret Wars Issue 4. The epic Marvel event continues, and I can't wait to see what writer Jonathan Hickman has in store for us in this issue. Now we have Green Arrow Issue 42. Green Arrow strikes out against the forces that have been threatening to rip Seattle apart. And finally, we have Detective Comics Issue 42. The all-new Batman tries to find his place in Gotham City, but how can he manage his already uneasy relationship with Gotham PD? And that, my friends, brings another episode of Variant to a close. But remember, you can always like our Variant Facebook page to keep up with the show and all things comic related. You can also follow my face on Twitter at twitter.com/Arris_Quinones. And also to remember, if you like what you see, hit the subscribe button. But I'll see you guys next week when I talk about all things comics.
Hi, Variant. Our favorite Spider-Man comic is Kraven's Last Hunt.
It's dark, it's gritty, and it's a great exploration of both Kraven and Spider-Man.
My favorite Spider-Man comic is the classic, but yet amazing, Spider-Man.